moviegoers, and welcome to another edition of Have You Seen It? I am your host, Denise, and this week I am going to review the movie Civil War. It just came out, and so I was, right there waiting for my opportunity to see this film. This film stars Kirsten Dunst, Wagner Moura, Kaylee Spaney, I believe that is how you pronounce her name, Nick Offerman, Jefferson White, Nelson Lee, Stephen McKinley Henderson, and Jesse Plemons. Okay, so in this movie, our main character is played by Kirsten Dunst. Her name is Lee. She is a photographer / journalist, and she is on a mission, if you will, with a few of her colleagues on their way to Washington, D.C. to interview the President of the United States. This is a dystopian future America. And so these journalists and photographers are in a race against time to get to interview the president and take some really great photographs before all hell breaks loose. I mean, things are already chaotic in this time period, but they are literally, in a race against time with not a lot of time to spare, if you will. So when the movie starts, you have this protest going on. So you've got protesters who are angrily protesting their point of view. You've got the police department, you've got military, so you've got all of this back and forth, and this protest has, kind of escalated to the point where you've got shots fired, people laying hands on each other, you've got bombs detonating. So it's a really, really scary start to the movie. So as our main character, Lee, is taking photographs of all of this, there is a very young photographer named Jessie. She's played by Kaylee Spaney. She is a fan, if you will, of Lee and her work. And so she has an opportunity not only to kind of get in the mix and get some good photos too, but to see her idol, if you will, in action. So she's taking pictures of her doing her job. So once the initial chaotic protest occurs, Lee and her crew, which is a gentleman by the name of Joel, and then you have another gentleman, Sammy, who are, going with her to DC. Okay. Somehow our young Jessie, our young photographer, kind of talks her way into joining this group and riding with them, to DC. So along the way, there is chaos in some instances. In other instances, you see just bare land, bare neighborhoods, bare communities where you don't see anybody. And then there are other areas as they're traveling down from New York City, and they're traveling down to DC. You see people who are homeless, who have now set up encampments. They're rationing food and water and so forth. So you have a mix of how people are surviving in this chaotic moment. So the movie doesn't really say who the bad guys are, if you will. For example, in towards the beginning of the movie, you hear the president say that California and Texas apparently have, seceded from the union, so they, want to do their own thing. Whereas Florida isn't sure what they want to do, but he's hoping, Florida can talk the Carolinas into joining in on whatever the big plan is. All right. So again, as they are traveling, they have to kind of detour because some states you can't even get across their borders. So for example, Maryland, it's like, oh gosh, how are we going to get through this area, because it's the military has stopped all entry into certain places. So they detour and they just come across, in some instances, dead bodies in the middle of the road, barren land. It's just, very messy. There's blood, there is shooting, there is random killing. We don't know who's on what side, And so as they get closer to DC, again, they've got protection because they're in a, military type situation, but they're still all the while taking photographs. I mean, taking photographs of everything. People getting shot, people getting wounded, people laying in the middle of the road dead. All of that is going on. So it kind of gives you a glimpse into how, I guess, photographers and journalists can become desensitized to what they are seeing, especially in a war-torn community or country or city or a state, whatever. At some point, they still have to do their job. So as I'm watching this movie, I'm, looking intently at how the photographers are jockeying for position so they can get the shot, how the military is protecting them and telling them when it's safe to just put yourself out there and get that shot. Now get back so we can cover you so you don't get killed. So that's the movie. The movie is about an hour and 40 some minutes, maybe an hour 50 minutes. Loud because of all of the noise from the guns and the screaming and yelling and so forth, and bombs and so forth. So if you're interested in kind of seeing what a future America could look like, I hope it doesn't look like what I watched for almost 2 hours, check out Civil War. It was interesting. All right, folks, I'm going to jump in to my Nailed It. And my Nailed It this week is the movie The Impossible. Specifically, Naomi Watts and a very, very, very young Tom Holland. This is a disaster movie that is, based on a true story from the tsunami that hit Thailand back in the early 2000s. And so the adrenaline rush that you will see in this movie, if it's, it's on, I think, like Netflix, from impact, from the time the tsunami hit, the first 15 minutes of the disaster itself show Naomi Watts' character and little young Tom Holland fighting for their lives as they are being swept away with debris and trees and furniture and dead bodies and cars and trucks and all sorts of things. How they are jostled underwater and, fighting for every breath of life was just amazing and very intense to watch. So the visual effects of that movie were really, really fantastic. So that is my nailed it, the movie, The Impossible. But that first 15 minutes or so of disaster with Naomi Watts and Tom Holland. All right, folks, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that like button. And remember, we are available on every podcast platform in the universe. Just type in, have you seen it with Denise? And there I will be. All right, moviegoers, you know what to do. Until next week, I need you to go see a movie because I'm going to see a movie. Until next week, bye-bye.